pray for all the people who have lost loved ones and healing for them.
And so it is.
I'd like to ask for prayers for Coletta Herrick, her beloved younger brother Mike died 15 days after he was diagnosed with end-stage leukemia. He died Wednesday night. She's devastated, and so send prayers of love, healing, and support for her.
And so it is. I'd like to offer a prayer for Betty and for her healing and well-being. And so it is. I'd like to offer a prayer for Dee for her continued healing. And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests?
I'd like to offer a prayer for our friend Rose as she makes her huge decisions in the next few months regarding health, living arrangements, and legal issues. Rose.
And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests?
I have a prayer of gratitude. Bob and I both received both of our vaccines, feeling much safer, and gratitude for all of us who have received at least one, and for the fact that it looks like everyone will be able to have a vaccine by sometime this summer.
And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests?
This is Sandy, and I would like to give a thanks and gratitude also, and a prayer for guidance that as we release our cautions and more of us get vaccines, that we keep our safety in mind and the safety of others, and that we adhere to the guidelines that we're given and not just out there and start all over again. So that is my prayer.
And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests?
I'd like to request a prayer for guidance and discernment moving forward for our ministry and for each of us individually. And the selection, of course, of a new pastor for sometime next year.
And so it is. Are there any other prayer requests? For all of those prayers not spoken, for all of those in need of prayer and unaware, for all of those in conflict or in difficulty, tribulation of various sorts, seeing all of those in need embraced by the love of God, brought into an awareness of the presence of the love of God, that their tribulations may be reduced and resolved. And so it is, that together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Well, this morning we have the pleasure once again of Doug's great artistry. Doug, if you would, and I'll suggest once again that you view with speaker view and be able to see the full screen of Doug's manipulation of those ivories. Was that too trite? Oh, well.
Good
anyway.
morning. I will try to manipulate you all with the ivories.
Okay.
What?
Manipulate
what
away.
Mean? What does that even mean?
I don't know.
I'm sure you'll all know this tune or recognize it.
Thank you, Doug. That was great.
I really needed that rainbow connection. Thank you so much.
I was told that the composer had "When You Wish Upon a Star" in mind, that feeling when he wrote it. So I figured I'd bookend it with that.
Oh boy. So, a vision or a fantasy? Now, today's talk, let me just say, today's talk is going to be a bit different. It's going to be very relevant to the future of our community. And it is going to bring in spiritual principles, but I want to give you a background. Last week, I attempted to clarify this concept of divine order, that it's not about a predefined plan, or it's not about predestination. It's not about some greater entity having all of the motions and reactions mapped out, and we just plug in our activities. But rather, divine order is about the dynamics of the spiritual laws of consciousness. And we use the Texas weather event as the question, the object of that talk. But we have divine order occurring all around us. And that divine order is, as Charles Fillmore stated, it's a manifestation of the laws of the universe. It's not some kind of divine plan revealing itself. So those laws of consciousness and of the universe have their foundation in the third principle of unity. You may note that I've identified the 5 principles of unity as premise, proposition, process, practice, and promise. And that first law is that first principle is that there is one power and one presence. The second law is the Christ resides in each of us. The third law, the one upon which the divine order is based, is that thoughts we hold in mind manifest in our experience. So that brings us to the discussion that we had in the board meeting yesterday. The primary discussion we had in the board meeting yesterday was about finding a minister to be my replacement. And I know some of you say, "Oh, David, there's no one that can replace you," and others of you saying, "Well, that's going to be easy to get you replaced." But we are in an interesting market. I went on the Unity Worldwide Ministry website to determine how many ministries are open and looking for a minister. Now, coincidentally, with 26 Sundays left until my last scheduled talk, we have 26 open ministries. So on February 26th, with 26 Sundays left, we have 26 open ministries. I don't know what that means, except that there's a lot of ministries that are open, which also means that there is a high demand for ministers, which in the parlance of the real estate marketplace is that we are in a seller's market. The sellers being the ministerial candidates. The buyers being the ministries that are looking for leadership. So we are in a seller's market, and in a seller's market, what happens is that when the demand is high and the supply is low, prices tend to rise. Those prices being ministerial salaries. So I want to emphasize that we are in a position where we need to be clear in how we progress. 26 weeks, 6 months, not far away. And it would be very useful for us to have a minister candidate chosen. Now, let me give you a little bit of background. This is not widely publicized, and you won't hear anybody at Unity Worldwide Ministries actually utter these words. But we're in a situation that is historically low supply and high demand for ministers. And the background to that, you may recall that in 2015 and 2016, I was involved as a co-chair of the team that migrated the ministerial program from a brick and mortar on-campus program to online. And the reason for that was that back in the 90s, in the late 90s, when I was in ministerial school, in fact, there was conversation about making our ministerial program an accredited seminary program. And what that required was that we go from a 2-year to a 3-year program to give background in theology and those kinds of, quote, hard courses that are present in seminary. Well, what happened was that in 2004 or 2005, I'm not sure exactly the year, they moved the 2-year on-campus program to a 3-year on-campus program. And to highlight the effect of that is that in 1999, when I graduated from ministerial school, we had 37 students that graduated, 35 of which became ordained. A graduating student does not necessarily become ordained. They have to go through an additional process of evaluation for that. But we had 35 ordained ministers come out of the class that I was participating in. In 2004, 2005, it went from a 2-year to a 3-year program, and in 2014, is 2014 or 2015, there were 5 ministers that came out of that 3-year program. That was the impetus to move from 3-year on campus to 3-year online, still with the idea that we might be we might gain accreditation in whatever body that governs that accreditation process. So that's the background, and that is why we are now sitting with a bunch of ministries open and not very many ministers to fill those positions. Now, across the Unity movement, there has been, over the course of the last 15 years, there's been more and more Unity ministries that have not employed ordained leadership. They've used licensed Unity teachers, which in many cases the licensed Unity teachers do a very good job of leading ministries. But there is that additional training, that additional ordination process or ministerial training leading to ordination that is considered to be an important part of leadership, basically the leadership foundation for ministry. So over that period of time then, we have experienced a continuing retirement rate for ministers, and our 35 ministers coming out of class in 1999 was about equal to the number of ministers that were retiring. That is to say, the number of ministries that were looking for leadership was fairly constant over that period of time. But it has grown. It has that the number of ministries that are looking for leadership has grown, and that is because, or that leads to us a situation where we have high demand, low supply of ministers. Now, this is not to say, for those of you who know me, I think you know that I am an eternal optimist, and my optimism is not in any way decreased by our situation. But I am also aware that when we are in any given circumstance, it's useful to be aware of the circumstance before we can decide how we're going to move forward. And so that's where we are right now. Now, I've talked about supply and demand and price. There are other factors that are involved. When a minister, I know when I came out of school and in my class, these questions were common among the minister candidates or the graduating ministers. They had other things in mind besides just salary. Some of those things in mind were, is this a good place to live? If I go to this ministry, will I enjoy living there? Is there a high potential in the ministry? That is, I as a potential ministry candidate, am I going to be able to contribute significantly to that ministry? Is the ministry, does it have a history of minister churn? That is to say, do they go through ministers every couple of years, or sometimes less than a couple of years? If it is a ministry that has a history of minister churn, there's some underlying dynamic going on that causes that. And so there is reticence to step into that situation. And among other, I mean, there are many questions, but good place to live, does it have a high potential? Does it have a history of minister churn, or are they committed to their relationship with their minister? And another important question, does the community have a clear vision of what they want to be? Every ministry goes through an evolution, and that evolution is either happenstance or it's guided. If it's happenstance, it's kind of, the winds blow this way and it will move that way. The winds come back the other way and the ministry will move this way. Or is it guided by a vision? And guided by a vision, that's what I want to get to. Is this a vision, or are we in a fantasy land? And the vision is what we come up with. We had an annual meeting end of January, and in that annual meeting this topic was broached, and the formation of a minister search team was announced, and I'll have to say there was a collective yawn to that announcement. We had one person sign up, and of course, I guess of course, but not surprisingly, the person that signed up was Pam Denny. So Pam is the only member of our minister search team, other than people on the board who are going to be involved. But if we're going to be having a clear vision articulated for an incoming minister candidate, we need to have more than just the few people on the board and Pam involved in defining that vision and articulating that vision, so that an incoming minister can look to see whether or not the skills that they are bringing to bear will help the community reach the vision that they have identified. So if we are in a seller's market, one of the ways that we can more effectively compete is to have a clear vision of who we want to be, what we want to express in our community. That is, how do we want to show up in our greater community, and what programs do we want to engage as a ministry for our own growth and for the contribution to our community. So this vision, the articulation of this vision, is of paramount importance as we, as a small ministry, as we are competing in the marketplace for ordained leadership. So I'd like to hear from you now. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are about what we should how we should envision our future. Who do we want this ministry to be? What do we want to engage? How do we want to express ourselves in this ministry? And there are other questions as well, but that's the point, is let's get that underway. Let's get that vision articulation underway, starting right now. That pregnant pause is for your contributions.
It's hard to figure out where to begin.
You know, as with any journey, the first step is important.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know so many people we are attached to our community as it is,
mm-hmm.
and the people who are in the community.
And that's great. Yes.
But part of the vision has to be growth. We have to have more people in the community. I would say I would like to see more diversity. Diversity of many kinds. Because there's a danger of stagnation. If it's over time, people will drop away and it will become smaller if we aren't constantly stimulating and feeding the congregation. So.
Yep. By the way, I have started recording this because rather than taking notes while you're speaking, I just want to have all your comments so that we can go back and refer to them. So I'm sorry, Kay, go ahead. Yes.
Well, that was just my first thought to maybe get the ball rolling.
Thank you.
You know, I'll have more thoughts later, but I'm done for now. I always do.
Right.
I think that's a good start, Kay, because the diversity of our group we need to grow. We absolutely do. And, you know, I'm always looking at the economic end of things. And if we seek out a new minister, we have to have something to offer that minister. We have to have a good income stream coming from our community. And that, especially if it's in competition the way it is now. So, and a vision. Hopefully that we will get to eventually having a place that we can come to. I think that's an important part in revitalizing our community. Even if it's, rental space is fine, but share it with another church, whatever. But have a place again as the summer goes on and things get better. A home base. Yeah, Dick was saying. So those are my thoughts.
Sandy, thank you. Let me just annotate what you said, that in that list of open ministries, they also have offering salaries. And those offering salaries range from $1,000 per month, and there's 2 or 3 ministries. Of those 26, there are 2 or 3 that stipulate this is just a part-time position, and they're offering $1,000 a month kind of income. To the full-time positions, which usually are within that list, they range from $40,000 to $65,000 a year, plus additional benefits. So that gives you a context of what the price point is these days. And again, price
and that is my point too.
Yeah. Thank you. And I just want to reiterate, let's not get hung up on that, because we have other things that we can offer. It's a great place to live, for instance, right? We have had a long-term relationship with the minister, which is also a strong selling point to incoming ministers. We have great potential. We have great potential. And the question is, do we have that clear vision? So let's continue. Thank you.
Okay. I've got a comment. I think we really need to attract younger people, or our ministry will be dead, literally. That's my one important.
I agree with that. More young families with children.
In the Unity Church I belong to in Maryland, one of the things that was a basic thing in that church was that they offered space for 12-step meetings to meet in the church, and there were many 12-step program members of a whole variety who started attending the church and ultimately became members. And that certainly offered a diversity of people who had some contact with the church and then ultimately joined. Mm-hmm. And another thing that church didn't so much do it, but I think part of a vision I have is the church spiritual community being some kind of a witness in the community. I don't know what that means exactly, but sort of offering some touchstone of a place of peace or a place of a consciousness about a presence in the community overall.
Thank you, Joe.
So this is Mark. We talked a great deal yesterday morning about this subject, and one of the things that has got to be instrumental in what we do going forward is the development of this virtual ministry in combination with traditional stick and mortar ministry. I think there are great possibilities to move the ministry to both those platforms. I'm familiar with Unity of Portland is doing their Course in Miracles online. They're doing a lot of the classwork they would have ordinarily done at the church in the online environment to keep their community engaged while they cannot be physically together. It would be a good time to start segueing into more of those activities that are in that virtual domain. And we can reach people who are not only physically in this area, but across the country. If our programs are dynamic enough and interesting enough and taught to maybe a younger crowd, a younger audience. I like the 12-step program referral because 12-step programs are basically unity. We have common roots in our philosophy and our theology. Those programs lend themselves to that environment. I know that at Al-Anon meetings and at AA meetings we used to do at Detox, sometimes the family members would come to us after the meeting and say, I would really like to go someplace where we could practice the same kind of religion or spirituality that my partner is experiencing in their 12-step program. Mm-hmm. It's too bad there isn't something like that. Well, we are something like that. We are that additional avenue for families to experience the spirituality, this spiritual path in a greater form. I think that's a great segue for us to move into that population and become more of a resource in that population. And that's where the family's going to come from. That's where the younger people are going to come from. That's where the future probably is going to come from, is those people who have found their way to the spiritual path another way and now find themselves in an adult situation where they want to continue that relationship and that path. We can provide that. There are AA clubs that have withered and died because their members have all gotten sober, have all gotten clean, they've all dealt with their demons, and now they've just coasted into this kind of nebulous, nothing, there's no challenge anymore. There's always a challenge. And the biggest challenge in life is facing yourself.
Let me interject that soon after we established our ministry, this was in 2008-2009 time frame, but it was closer to 2008. It was soon after we moved into our building. I called a group in downtown Denver that was supposedly a clearinghouse for 12-step programs, indicating that we had space available and we would welcome any participation. And I heard nothing. I heard nothing back. So I don't know, as you say, whether all the 12-step programs in the Arvada area had done their job and they'd cleaned up everybody and sobered everybody so that they weren't necessary. But that was the idea behind having Journeys for Conscious Living as a roommate, because of I couldn't find any 12-step programs to come into the building. Anyway,
they can be. I've worked with them in my time with Raffle House and Detox. I've worked those programs, and I know who you're talking about. You're talking about AA Central Office and Al-Anon Central Office. It's right downtown, across the street from East High School. Been there often, and I always kind of look at it as if you want to go someplace and accomplish nothing all day long, go see AA Central, because nothing's going to.
Yeah, well, I think the 12-step programs are certainly one avenue.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we should get totally hung up on that right now. I think, that would be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But we need to look at different forms of outreach, and because the outreach in a general way is very important, be it 12-step, be it whatever kinds of groups that would bring people in to learn about us and possibly join us. And we have to look at a variety, I think, of possibilities, and a minister who would have strengths in being able to do that, and be interested in facilitating that kind of outreach into the community.
And oftentimes the ministers that are inclined to that are ministers that have in their personal history gone through the recovery process. So they have a vested interest. They have a personal relationship with those programs.
Yeah.
And whatever other kinds of programs there might be.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, but just to not put all our eggs in that basket.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
We need to be fairly diverse, and we have so many resources within our community. We have people who have in-depth training in other in areas that would be very interesting, and we could also engage. Kay has spent time getting certification in other programs and other disciplines, and that would be a great resource to allow our community to do workshops in this virtual world and the physical world.
Even when we get back into a brick and mortar Sunday gathering, the online seminar programs are an effective means of reaching out and growing the community. Joe, you had something.
Good job.
Group that I think it would be interested if they knew about it are people with kids who grew up in a kind of a very strict religion, whether Protestant or Catholic or whatever, and who would like to have a church or spiritual home that is not particularly dogmatic and rule-oriented the way their background was, but offers a spiritual path and a place for their kids to have a spiritual upbringing that is not, again, as strict as those are. I don't know how you reach those folks. That occurs to me. One thing that occurs to in my mind is our ads or some kind of thing in the Colorado Parent publication, and maybe thinking about what there is to offer such folks, a parenting group or something like that. Anyway, a thought.
So what I hear people saying is that we need to grow, and we need more people of the generation, mostly younger than a few of us are, that have young kids and are looking for that spiritual opportunity for their kids also, which means we need to attract those young families. So we have to start with the adults, though, who are going to drive the kids to the place. And once we get into a brick and mortar type situation, we need some vivacious people who are going to guide those kids and make those kids convince their parents that that's a great place to be, which I think we had for a while, but it's a chicken and egg situation. And so knowing that we want to grow and knowing that we want young families is a good start. So anything else?
Well, you point to the establishment of a program, in this case a youth ed program, and it's nice to say, yeah, our church has that, but it's also important that we as participants in the ministry participate in those programs. I know you may notice that my classes that I used to offer 3 or 4 times a year have dropped to 0. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that, well, maybe the classes weren't interesting, but there weren't enough people to participate to make the discussions dynamic and fruitful. So we as community members need to take responsibility for these programs to work, rather than just saying, oh yeah, we've got those classes. We need to say, yeah, that's a class I'd like to take. Or if I don't see a class I'd like to take, hey, how about having this class? And so we need, as community members, we need to participate rather than just show up. So
Well,
I
go
have
ahead.
2 thoughts about ways of attracting young families. One is to simply offer kind of some standard parenting classes, how to talk so kids will listen or something like that, that are physically at the place of the church. That's one. And another one that I've heard of churches doing is a parents' night out, where you know, once a month on a Friday night, the church provides activities and pizza and whatever for kids so that parents can have a night out. I don't care what evening it is, but that is something that I have also known to bring people into contact with the church that then leads to a deeper relationship.
I think the social media is a good way to draw younger people because that's how they communicate. And I think it's important to have, be it a Zoom or whatever type of outlet, to have some of those intertwined with actual meetings, especially for younger families who are staying at home raising kids, and to create some kind of string of regular nights of being able to do that, and then having a core, if we were someplace physical, that they can meet once a week. But I think, you know, it's, the social media would be a good way as a glue, as a fuse to keep things going. And I like the idea of family talks and things like that, and identifying the needs of the people who are involved and expand from there. But try to, don't overdo it at first, but to have succinct topics dealing with families and relationships, and also just having something for fun too. But I think social media is always going to be a part of it, and you know, people are going to be ready to socialize when COVID finally abates. But I think it's, for a small congregation like ours, we need a communication network to keep in touch, at least through the social media, also to try to build something.
So this is the kind of discussion that we need to continue. I'm not going to belabor this discussion any further right now, but let's get a team together, okay? Let's have someone besides Pam on the minister search team. These kinds of ideas can be brought into an integrated vision that we can then, from that vision, we can determine what are the characteristics of the ministerial candidate that is going to be most effective for our community. It's important for a ministerial candidate to look at a community and see if their vision is clear. If they have a clear vision, then the minister candidate can make the decision, oh yeah, that's what I'd like to do too. And now salary is not as important as good place to live, potential, loyalty to the ministry relationship, and vision. So you can use the chat box. You can email me.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kate.
I was trying to volunteer.
Okay, good.
I was going to put it in the chat box.
All right, good.
I think one of the things that I'd like to say right now, we are in a time of change. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's a lot of people, it's hard for you to make a judgment like that, but most people I know of right now are really struggling just to maintain the status quo. Everything else out there has been in a topsy-turvy world. We don't have a clear direction as adults, if you want to call us adults, of which way to go. So how can we expect a younger generation to have some kind of a direction right now, too? The point I'm trying to make is that there's confusion out there, and we need to wind up getting that kind of a confusion brought together so that it has some kind of a direction to work towards. You can't offer a child, quote, care situation if you don't know if you're going to have children and participating in it, or if they would even want to. I've got 3 grandkids that live in Florida that don't even want to leave the house because of everything that's going on. That's only one minute section of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure we can all identify somebody in our social economic group that's going to feel the same way. And I think, we're just in a very large turmoil at this point in time. And we need to do some kind of a direction to get out of that.
We can set a direction with the option to add to it and change as we grow. I think that needs to be part of this, just because, as you said, Dick, all of the turmoil that's going on while we're making this search. There was one other thing I wanted to add, David, and I would like to see our church be a place that provides safety and outreach to the LGBTQ community. We've had that before, and it's an important outlet and for people to feel safe and accepted and appreciated who are in that community and other communities is a real important piece of unity as far as I'm concerned.
So put your names in the chat box. Let's build a dynamic and resourceful ministerial search team. Okay? I'd like to I promised a spiritual point, and I'll come back to thoughts held in mind manifest in our experience. That's what vision is about. Fantasy is the making of plans that are improbable or impossible. A vision is a wisdom-driven plan for the creation, the manifestation of what you want, what we want. And I say that as a corporate we because I am going to be stepping back from this decision process, necessarily so, because this is your decision, okay? I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I also know that it's your vision that is important in how this community grows into the future. So be a part of that. Take responsibility. Step up. even if you don't have any clear idea right now of what you think we should be involved in, your participation is essential, because as we as a community can create an integrated, consensus-driven vision, then we are going to be sidestepping the demand for high salary with a great place to live, high potential, strong community minister relationship, and an articulated vision. So let's move forward. I'd like to share before our meditation. I'd like to share a piece from Jan. Let's see. It is Jan Garrett and J.D. There we go. I am in the share position. Okay. You're seeing the video? You're not hearing it yet? Are you hearing it?
Yes. Yes.
I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of summer, and the winds changed, and the green was easy, and the rivers ran clear. I dreamed of summer, and the winds changed, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers bloom in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and the way was easy, the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. And the guardian stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and the sound was easy, and the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. And the ancient pain is forgotten, and the Father's debts are clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers bloom in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came.
And so it is. Let's take a few minutes here to center ourselves in the awareness that this whole universe, this conscious experience that we have within creation, is based upon this third fundamental principle, the process that the thoughts we hold in mind manifest in our experience. We each are creative beings. We each have within ourselves the resources to manifest that which we hold in clear vision. It's not about creating events in our lives, but it's about being responsive to the events that show up in our lives. And it's that manifestation which this visioning process that we all can participate in. So let us hold in mind, what is it that I, as an individual, each of us in our community, what is it that as individuals we have in consciousness that can contribute to the vision, the collective vision? What have we as individuals experienced in the past that has been powerful, life-affirming in our community? And what have we as individuals experienced or not experienced that we would like to have experienced? What would have contributed to a greater sense of connection, to a greater sense of community, to a greater expression of that spiritual essence of who we are? We have the opportunity right here and right now to be a part of that development, to be a part of that creative impetus to determine where our community is going to grow. And the question is, are we as individuals willing to invest our time, our love, our energy in seeing this vision coalesce and then manifest? Yes, it's up to each of us. Let's answer that call. Let's each of us be a part of how this vision will unfold. Breathing in and breathing out, recognizing that yes, it is a challenge. And we have the resources to meet that challenge, individually and collectively. Let us say yes to that invitation. Breathing in, breathing out, accepting that that's what we're here for. We are the change. We can be the masters of our community's destiny. And to that I say, Amen. Let me share a screen here. Doug, if you would accompany us for our benediction.
And I did hear the rain stick in my head, Doug, and I saw it.
You didn't hear it in person? You didn't hear it?
No.
You just...
Yeah, we didn't hear it.
The sound was not on?
We didn't hear it anyway.
Oh, it wasn't. And I will always think of that rain stick with Don, the way he did that. So thank you for trying, Doug.
Okay. Let there be peace. Together, please. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And just a reminder that if you want to make contributions, you can do that at the top of our newsletter. You can do that on our website, or you can just go to tinyurl.com/LWU donate. Doug, thank you so much. Thank you for your wonderful music and contribution. Thanks to all of you for being here and putting up with my harangue this morning. We have a great opportunity in front of us. Let's take advantage of it. And we are...